All right, it's time to talk about all the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. And oh my gosh, what would be more fun and more exciting than seeing the Lions trounce on a weasel-weak team like the Washington Redskins with really no players other than Terry McLaurin? What could they do? What could they even do to a team as powerful and well-coached and top shelf and healthy and highly... I don't know. I don't have any more adjectives. What the fuck happened, Case?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we really, if you have a Case cliche drinking game or bingo card, today is the day to do that. So we're going to be hitting them all through the show.
Yeah. Let's talk about Bo. Let's talk about a bright spot, right? Bro,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Bo, yeah. No, then he came out of nowhere.
Scarborough Fair.
I don't know. I haven't been on the show in a couple of weeks, so I don't know how much you guys have talked about him, but I had no idea who he was until he'd been picked up. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Cowboys a couple of years in 2018, and then bounced around their practice squad. The Seattle, he was on the Seattle active roster for a minute. And somebody else, I don't remember who else. It was maybe the Bengals or somebody had him on the practice squad. Yeah, regardless. Nobody had really given him a shot on the field. So this is the kind of player that you see. I mean, we've seen a lot of running backs who get a chance at some point in their career, coming out of the 7th round, coming out of being undrafted, things like that, who make a name for themselves, and they don't always have the same longevity of the players. And especially recently, we've had so many running backs come out of the draft in the first few rounds that are making a big name for themselves. That narrative that used to exist that you could get a running back anywhere has died down a little bit. But it isn't completely gone, and I still do believe that of all the positions in the NFL, it's one of the ones where you can find hidden gems more easily than anywhere else. And I don't want to, it's way early to, be crowning Bo Scarborough, but he's been doing behind this line what none of the other running backs that we had were able to. He's performing better than Kerryon Johnson did behind this line while Kerryon was in.
And let's say with this line, not necessarily the same line, because this line's a little dinged up right now.
Right. Absolutely. So, I mean, there is reason to be optimistic about him for the future. He'll have to, hopefully they sign him to a short contract this offseason and he has to battle for a roster spot, that kind of situation. I don't want to assume that he's going to be the man or anything like that, but
he will carry this team.
But it'd be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see. He'll be one of the more fascinating guys to watch through the offseason, I suspect. So.
Yeah, he was a guy that I think got injured his senior year in college, if I remember correctly. And please don't, if I'm wrong, don't send hate mail. Just let me know. Remind me. Gently remind me. I've got enough going on with the Lions to break me this year. No, but I think he just got injured coming out of college, so he fell a little bit, and then he'd suffered some injuries along the way in the NFL that prevented him from really getting a shot and getting up to speed. And this may be an opportunity, like you said, to find that kind of hidden gem. And as we'll talk about later, so much more right now is about next year than about this year with this team. That it's neat to be able to see a guy like this run. You use him in that skill kind of position and see how he turns out, because you find that gem, that's something you don't have to grab next year in the first round or second round.
Okay, so moving on to the rest of the game, and here's it. Notch one off on the bingo card here. The Lions, more so than maybe any other team in the league, find incredibly unique ways to lose games, and the number one thing in this game that happened was our coverage unit had a breakdown, and our coverage unit has been great this year. Maybe one of the best, probably one of the best in the league. I don't have the stats in front of me to say, but one of the best in the league. They've been great at coverage all year. They hardly ever let anything big go, and then on a muffed kickoff, that turns into a touchdown. Of all things that you would expect to have gone wrong in this game,
that was not it.
That's like bottom of the list. So it's truly impressive to me, the creativity of the Lions in their losing ways.
There was no touchdowns allowed by this terrible defense. Where was there?
We're going to talk about the defense later on in the show.
Okay. I didn't get the inside scoop on this one. I can't wait. All right, so yeah, nothing like that came out of the defense that we saw. We kind of look around else. Driscoll's out there doing Driscoll things. I got to tell you, he seems to be a heck of a competent backup. Is he a starter in the NFL? Maybe on the Bengals right now. He is. He's definitely on the Lions, right? On the Lions he is, because you got a hurt quarterback. But you want to put Blau out there? Who else you want to put out there, right? I mean, this is the guy that's going to get you the best. And the case is, if Stafford goes down, you want it to be for a small injury. Maybe, he gets dinged up for the last, couple minutes of the fourth quarter.
He got too drunk last night.
Yeah. He just needs a couple, Motrin to kick in and his little energy drink to hit before he can. That kind of thing, great. Whole games, having a backup start, that's tough. I think Driscoll's a good guy. I feel really good about him as a backup. I mean, what he did against the Cowboys in the previous game showed that he's competent. Now, he didn't pull the game off, but we had no expectations of winning that game. That was a tough game walking into the season with a healthy roster when we were analyzing the schedule, right? And that hadn't changed throughout the year. So when you got 50% of your guys out injured and you got your backup quarterback in there, you're thinking we're going to get blown out, and we were in it to the end. Driscoll, he's not replacing Stafford. There's no such thing as a quarterback controversy here, but He's been competent. I got to give him credit for playing mostly a competent game, and you can tell he's thinking when he's out there. He's not able to just kind of react to what's going on. I think it makes you appreciate what you have in a guy like Stafford, who you obviously, and this is going to sound stupid, but obviously isn't thinking. Right, he can react and act without having to go through a series of checklists in his head. He's just a natural checklist processor, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe his processor is faster. Whatever it is,
he sees the he can feel progression in his head.
He can feel it rather than read it, right? I mean, it's just right. A natural state for him. And someone like Driscoll, with enough time, he could probably get to something like that. But to be able to execute on the level that Stafford does helps you see how many pieces are so important to what makes a great quarterback, and also helps you kind of see how silly the people that maybe are not thinking Stafford's the guy actually are in the face of what the quarterback's job is and what it takes to do it.
And this has kind of been the year of backup quarterbacks in the NFL. They've had more success this year than any other year that I can ever remember, for sure. But that is a huge anomaly, and a lot of those guys, after what looked like at one point, backup quarterbacks in the NFL this year were 25-25. 25 wins, 25 losses, which is, I mean, for backup quarterbacks to be 500 is pretty impressive.
Crazy.
But at the same time, I think a lot of those teams with the backups have started to deteriorate as teams adjust and things like that.
Look at what Kansas City had. Right, Mahomes went down. They came in with a backup. They won a couple games. Backup's gone. Mahomes is back. Right, they've got a really excellent team surrounding him. So I think there's something to be said for that. But again, we come here. We have a close game. You don't want a close game against the Redskins, but God, the injury bug this year.
We're going to talk about close games later too. We're going to talk about injuries as well. The only injury to report out of this game, fortunately, was Marvin Hall, and I don't know how serious that was yet, but he left in I believe the third quarter, maybe the fourth.
Sure.
But hopefully he's back. He's another guy who will be interesting to watch this offseason. I don't expect him to become a top three, long-term top three prospect for this team, but he could be the number 4 wide receiver of the future for us for a while. Yeah. If he's able to keep up what he's been doing.
If he can keep it up. That's always the question, right? All right. Do we want to talk about this game anymore? Is there anything else you had to say, Case, about it?
I really don't have that much to say. I mean, none of it was that huge of a surprise. You put a guy like Driscoll in a situation where he's feeling desperate to move the ball, and that's when a situation where a guy like Jeff Driscoll is going to throw interceptions.
Right.
So it wasn't, that wasn't a huge shock. It was too bad, after it would have been nice to get him, his first win with the team, but there's so much that's not right about this team right now. and I think it's safe to say that we're this team, the team that it's supposed to be. And when I say that, I'm strictly talking about health-wise. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't be, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a loss to the Redskins. So,
well, yeah. And I mean, you think about it, we giggled, and this is kind of part of what hurts for me, Case. You weren't here for the Cowboys discussion, but I remember I talked about the Tampa game. We went to the game in Tampa. We were doing Let's Go Lions. You could hear it on TV. It was awesome. We felt awesome, right? It was we took over the stadium. And then the Jets game last year happened, and I was like, oh, God, I deserved it, right? I jinxed us. It was horrible. And then I went to the Cowboys game, and the Cowboys fans travel so well, and it was the most profitable game for Lions fans to sell their tickets, season ticket holders, of the season. So at that point, why wouldn't you at least capitalize and regain some of your investment, right? You knew you were going to get blown out. It was the best game to sell. So here we are there, listening to the Dallas fans chanting defense while Dallas is on defense. It was just like, oh my God, this is really, really frustrating.
I mean, like I said, too, week one in Arizona, Lions fans were louder than the Cardinals fans for most of the game, right up until the end.
Yep. No, for sure. And I get the frustration. Fans are frustrated. There's a lot to be frustrated with. But that's it's your team. It's the game. It's part of the thing, and we are where the Bears were injury wise last year, and that's kind of where I was going with that. We laughed at them, you and me. We giggled at the Bears.
You mean the other way around, because the Bears were the healthiest team in the league last year.
Yeah, you're right. I flipped my script. Yeah. What was the year before that the Bears? I remember.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. And the Bears were, Bears had several years there where they, were just hemorrhaging talent left and right. So
thank you. I need some more alcohol. It's been a long couple weeks of work, let me tell you. The year before, they were just absolutely terrible. They got hit with the injury bug. We were giggling at them and everything else, and it's like, wow, this is our turn in the bucket this year. And it's hard, man. You look at the team, and it's so hard to make judgments on where this team is for real, even on coaching, because you got guys that are so down the depth chart. There's so many guys playing for us. We're back to where we were years ago with guys that aren't going to play anywhere else in the NFL.
I remember, like, it feels like if the second half of 2011, when it was, we'd had the hot start thing, we ended up making the playoffs at 10-6, but we struggled so much on defense down the stretch because we had so many guys missing. We had like third stringers in like as our entire secondary, and that's kind of the feel of this situation right now.
Right. We're going to drop guys that'll never play in the NFL again, right? And we're playing guys that aren't going to play in the NFL again after this season right now. How do you evaluate a team or its coaches when the injury bug is just so prevalent?
It makes it difficult. It really does.
Yeah. And if you're as a fan, you just know the W column isn't lit, right? Yeah. You're not seeing the thing that you want. And when you see that against a team like the Redskins, it's like, come on. They're so bad. They are a bunch of backups, right? Well, it's tough. It's really, really tough to kind of get through there and make some of those things. But we're going to help you. We're going to have a conversation about that. But first, we do have to have a quick chat about something. These guys are here because they want us to talk to you. They appreciate what we do, and they appreciate you folks being here and listening to the show. So please listen up. Take advantage of this. These guys at SeatGeek, man, we've been with them a little bit, but they've helped change the relationship a little. So when you think about tickets, you need to think about SeatGeek, and I can tell you why. I mean, there's plenty of reasons. Case, for example, you're out buying tickets, you're looking to go to a show, to a game, whatever else. Talk about getting a runaround. Right? Tell me about that.
I use their app for concerts all the time. Obviously, I've talked about how this Cardinals game was my first game that I've gone to, so I don't have a lot of experience there. But for shows, they've been, it's my go-to.
Yeah, for sure. SeatGeek, man, they kill it. They don't run you around. They don't give you any of the garbage. They are able to help you find a awesome seat in the price range you're looking for. I've used different ones. I don't even say some of the other services I've used, but they're PU, right? I've stuck with SeatGeek, and it's as we've talked about in the show. We're not going to talk about something we don't believe in or don't use ourselves. Their app, it's quick, it's easy, it lets me pick exactly where I want to sit. And that's the key. When I went to the Thanksgiving game last season, I was able to find a seat in my price range that I was willing to spend to in the second row behind the Lions bench. How awesome is that? You're not going to be able to get those kind of seats. It's the same thing for a concert or whatever else, right? You want to find the right seat to see your favorite band and you're into it there. You can do that and you can find the best deal. They got green dots, they got orange dots, and they got red dots to tell you how good the deal is. If they're selling it for too high a price compared to where it should be and all that, you can use that to help find the best deal. They use over 50,000 there. They've got over 50,000 5-star reviews on the app. Obviously, they're doing something right. They pull together millions of tickets from around the web. They rank each deal from like a 1 to 10, and they put it to you on that interactive seat map. So not only are you like, you don't just say, oh, I want section 115. It shows you where 115 is. It shows you where the seat is, and then it even shows you what your view is going to be at that spot. It's pretty amazing. Check out the SeatGeek app, and I'll tell you, I'm going to be using it again. I use it all the time when I go somewhere, as Case said. He does a lot more shows. I kind of do sporty deals where I can. But let me tell you, not only the app, don't forget to get the app, but here's where they're helping out, okay? They're working with us to help you get an even better deal. SeatGeek is even giving you $10 off your first SeatGeek purchase. All you need to do is use our promo code, download the SeatGeek app. I guess that's the first thing you got to do. And then use the promo code LIONS. And it's LIONS for the folks out in well, I don't know where, in Chicago. You go to that, use that Lions for $10 off on your first purchase. Download the app, use promo code Lions for $10 off your first purchase, and that will get you a sweet deal on tickets. And again, it doesn't have to be football, it could be concerts, it could be anything else. Go get the SeatGeek app, use the promo code Lions, save $10, get the best seat you can find, and have a great time. Thanks to SeatGeek and your friends here at Detroit Lions Podcast. All right, Case, let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit about the people, the fans. There's a lot out there right now. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of and I'm not going to say that some of it isn't justified, right? I trust me, I'm a frustrated Lions fan right now. I think some of it's within the team's control, some of it isn't. There's a lot of ways you can slice this and talk about it, but it's easy to be a frustrated fan if you're a fan of the Lions right now. And as you said earlier, a lot of people have probably flipped over to Hockey Night in Canada just because they've had enough. But I think one of the things that's kind of rubbing me a little bit is this idea that people are ready to get rid of Patricia already out of this thing. And they're giving reasons like he's trying to crap down the players' throats like Belichick does, but he doesn't have the credibility or the results to do that, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, if you show me a Lions team that has the credibility or results to say, no, don't do that, don't change the culture here, I might be up to listen to that. But what we've not had is, in over 50 years, a culture or a coach that has been able to bring this team, or a team that has brought a championship. I haven't seen it. It's not here. So I don't think that you can just look at the coach and say he's trying to change things and that's bad. I think what he's trying to change is right. I think he will also evaluate himself after this season, again, as he did it after last, and adjust how he approaches things. And I think he's going to learn from it. I think where people are finding their most frustration, although not as evidenced in this last game against Washington, but is with the defense and with Paul Pasqualoni. We talked about how we got him, why we got him, and I think much like last year was the year that Patricia let Pasqualoni off the leash, or let Cooter off the leash to do his thing and prove whether he could or couldn't. This is the year where Pasqualoni is off the leash, and I think we're seeing that Mr. Pasqualoni will probably retire because they are friends and they want to treat people with generosity and humanly, in a humane way. They're going to let him retire at the end of this year, and they're going to find a different defensive coordinator. We'll get into those discussions of who it might be and who we're looking for. But, Case, I want to kind of hand this off to you because you didn't really kind of tell me what you want to talk about. You just said I
make you nervous when I do that, don't I? I'm going to have a rant today, Chris.
It's okay. just don't get us demonetized. You know the word not to use.
Right. I know the word I'm not supposed to use anymore.
Okay. But no, I appreciate it. I like it when you bring stuff like this, and I get to react to it, and it's really organic, and I appreciate that. But I know you want to talk about this, so I'm just going to kind of throw this thing to you and let you roll, and I'm going to grab a drink here while you do that.
Yeah. We'll touch on some of the things that you brought up there. Okay, so first of all, I'm not having any fun this season, and the thing is, even when the Lions are bad, I can still have fun because I can still watch them.
Go to the suite. It was a riot.
What's not fun is not actually being able to have any actual conversations with Lions fans because y'all are so upset and angry.
It's like talking about politics. Like, I don't care where you are.
It's
like you can't talk to anybody because somebody's going to be really, really mad.
Right.
And it's not even just like a conversation. Hey, we disagree. All right, buddy, let's go have a drink. It's like, I hate you. I'm banning you forever out of my life. Right. It's crazy. Right. It's insane. It's insane.
Yes. So that has ruined my enthusiasm for the season. So I'll probably continue to be a bit of a hermit for the rest of this, and then I'll pop back up in the off season with once things cool down a little bit, and I can actually start to speak my mind without getting blasted for it. But okay, so let's talk about the Lions and how good the Lions are or how good the Lions aren't.
Ooh.
So okay, the Lions have a losing record. They are 3-7-1. How many of you have actually looked at the standings? Is a question. I mean, legitimate question. Ask yourself: have you looked at the standings? Okay, yeah, we're last in the division. There are 6 teams below us in the standings, and 1 team tied with us. So, I mean, effectively, we're tied for what?
Last
25th.
Yeah,
we're tied for 24th.
We're like 7th. We got like the 7th round pick.
So,
in the draft right now.
Despite everything, and I'm going to get into I'll get into the injuries, I'll get into the coaching, I'll get into et cetera. But despite all that,
can I one thing? Sorry, I'm sorry. I know you're going to get going, and I hate to stop you, but I got to jump in because it's such an important point. If we would have won that game against Washington, we'd have been 14th in the draft, almost halfway, like right in the middle of the league, with a win over Washington, and we're 7th now in the draft. There's a lot of teams a lot worse than us. That's all I want to say. I'm sorry.
That is exactly the point I was just making. We are not the worst team in the league, but if you talk to a lot of fans and you listen to fans, that's what it sounds like. And I know that comes from a place of expectation because people got their expectations higher than maybe they should have. But that doesn't mean that it changes. Doesn't change the fact that this is not the worst team in the league. And if to go on that, okay, so there are 6 teams worse than us in record, right? Mm-hmm. 1 team tied with us, so we're tied for 24th. Mm-hmm. How many teams do you think there are who have a lower net points than us?
Oh, tons, right?
There are 11.
Not tons.
including the 5-6 Carolina Panthers, the 4-7 Jacksonville Jaguars, and the 4-7 New York Jets, and the 6-5 Oakland Raiders.
Sorry, I heard the question wrong. I was thinking gross points.
Gross points. Net points.
Yeah, not gross points. That's just north of Detroit.
We have minus 31 net points, which isn't great, but it also is a pretty good indicator. It's low enough that it's a pretty good indicator of if you look from year to year at net points and you see a team with a winning record with negative net points, that tends to be a relatively good indicator that A, they overperformed, and B, they're going to regress. Well, you can take the same idea with negative points, and if you have a team whose record at 3-7-1 would suggest probably way worse than 31 points, as opposed to what do we got? Miami Dolphins with negative 183. It's a good indicator that we're just not getting our breaks go our way.
It's like 3 points a game you're losing by, right?
That even if we even if we played the season over again and just replayed every game, chances are good that we would come away with a few more, things like that. We would probably be looking like an average team. Okay, so my favorite advanced statistic, and not everybody agrees on this, it's just my personal favorite, is the DVOA from Football Outsiders. And I'm not going to try to explain the whole thing to everyone. If you want to learn about it, go to Football Outsiders. Just type in DVOA in Google. You'll find the stuff right there. They have their explanations for everything. It all makes sense. It's not perfect because nothing is, but it is very objective. It's not. There's no subjectiveness to it. There's no grading plays by an independent observer. It's all statistical. The Lions sit, believe it or not, at 17th in the league in DVOA, which is as average as it can be.
Right.
They're slightly above average on offense, and surprisingly, nowhere near as bad as you'd expect on defense. Let me find it real quick here. They are, they are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth worst defense. Which, I mean, again, ninth is a surprise, I think, for it would be, by DVOA. Once again, take that however you want.
Conversations we hear and see about the Lions and the defense,
you would think they were bottom three,
right? Torches and pitchforks and all that. You would think that it was literally Ford Field was burning down and the pits of hell were opening up and just dropping players in because they are so horrible.
Mm-hmm. Now, every offseason, various outlets will come out with things about what teams were most injured, most starters who missed time, et cetera, those kind of things. I don't know this for a fact right now, but I would suggest there is a very high likelihood that the Lions are at the very top of the list of teams affected by injury this year. And once again, you can look at that in a lot of ways, and it's how you interpret those is subjective. But I would say, it would be really tough for any team, any of the good teams this year, if they had the kind of injuries that we've had. None of the top half teams have dealt with the level of injury issues that we have. And if any of them had, they wouldn't be in the top half of the league.
Sure.
Is my personal philosophy. I know that part of the frustration, one of the major frustrations of the fan base is that they were sold on this idea of depth. Okay. There's a difference between having depth and losing your whole roster
and using depth, right?
Yeah. Having depth is there not necessarily to replace an injured starter, although that is part of it, but it's to help with the rotations. It's to help, when a guy gets gassed. We haven't had that ability to do that all year because we started the year with Mike Daniels and Deshaun Hand and Jared Davis and all these things that, there was some of these things can be predicted. Mike Daniels does have an injury history that it's gone to the extreme that it's gone to. And the same thing is true of Kerryon Johnson, that he's missed as much time this year as he has. It wouldn't have been shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody that he was going to miss time, but the degree to which is not something you can really predict. I would have guessed and told you probably Mike Daniels will miss, 3-4 games this year when we picked him up. And yet he's barely playing.
Expectations.
Barely playing at all. And we've got Ashawn Robinson miss time. We've got Darius Slay miss time. We've got Damon Harrison miss time. Our whole defensive line is like, there is no defensive line continuity whatsoever. There's no depth to have because you can't even roster enough players to keep depth at the places that we are lacking depth right now. Yeah. It's not like they didn't go out and get the talent. It's just they haven't been able to keep the talent on the field. And it frustrates me that people look at depth and hear the words, we're building depth, and then immediately assume that means, okay, there's no excuse if there are a massive number of injuries.
Our starters.
Right. There's the same, I think it's a lot of the same people. Remember the firing of Jim Caldwell and saying 9-7 isn't good enough. And that, it's not that I don't understand the frustration. It's that A, totally taken out of context. B, it wasn't good enough. 9-7, if we had gone 9-7 the last 2 years, not that I think we would have, because I think that 9-7 team overperformed and would have regressed anyway. They were primed for regression because of players we were about to lose. And a lot of the players who, have gotten hurt for us would have likely gotten hurt for us anyway, or you couldn't, one way or the other. That it's silly to sit here and criticize that they took a shot. I understand the criticism, and it's fair to criticize the actual, like, what they've been able to do to some degree. While I will say that, like you said earlier in the show, it's really difficult for me right now to get a tack on exactly how good this team could be if things were to go right.
Can I just bring an example? And I'm not saying that this is necessary, who we are, what we are, but this is, I think, a prime example of what we're looking at right now. If you look, last year, the San Francisco 49ers ended the year 4-12. And it was like the house is on fire. Everyone was laughing at them. It was like the Lions today. Very, very similar, right? Injury, quarterback down, injury across the board. They're 10-1 now. They're 10-1 team. And how did they do it? Well,
and everybody wanted, yeah,
right. I mean, you're looking at a team that actually had a good system, had good things in place, but didn't have the players. Did they get a little bit easier schedule because they were 4-12? I mean, probably. Yeah, that helps a little bit, right? That certainly helps a little bit. But they had their guys come back. They had a healthy team. They also got a lot of really good draft picks. They also played the salary cap smart, which. God, there's somebody else doing that around here, and I forget. Anyway, there's a couple things that came together for that team, and that story is not necessarily a story that couldn't be rewritten next year in Detroit. And what did they do? Did they fire everybody? Did they? Did they fire everybody because they had an injured team? No. Did they? The whole concept of trust the system. I get that you don't. But come on, you've got to understand, what did we start working with? We knew that team wasn't going to be 9-7. Even with Caldwell in the first year of Patricia. You're bringing a rookie coach along, and we said this last week. You have to go with the growing pains of a rookie coach as well. They learn,
and you have to give them at least 3 years, unless they are blatantly ruining players' futures, which I don't believe they are. I mean, aside from players getting hurt, which obviously hurts their future, but that's not his fault.
No. And the idea of changing a coach every 2 years, which means a new system every 2 years, which means your system never gets fully integrated, which means you're always working with a new system with partial legacy pieces of the old system. That is not a recipe for success at all, right?
Imagine
to have a fully implemented system, and then if you want to fire him, fine, fire him. That's great, whatever. That's the thing to do. But then you're going from A to B. It's a very clean kind of move. But if you got half of one, half another, and you're bringing somebody new in, what the hell are you even doing? How do you take something that doesn't even go together in one or the other and try to mix that into a third thing? It just doesn't make any sense. And this carousel of coaches is not a winning strategy. People that are ready to fire after a year and a half of Patricia are insane. I absolutely think they're crazy. They don't really, and they're not crazy, actually. That's kind of mean. They either don't understand, what it takes to build an organization, not just a sports organization, any kind of an organization. They don't recognize what it takes to build an organization. If Darius Slay is mad, Darius Slay's going to be mad. You always have mad employees. You have good employees that get mad and go somewhere else, and you still do okay as an organization. As a matter of fact, you can still win as an organization. The people thought the Patriots were crazy for letting great players go, and yet there they were, still riding at the top. Why? Because they made good decisions, and they made decisions for the organization overall. So sorry to jump in, Case. That was one that was really, really kind of gotten under my skin lately. And I want folks to see this is not a 2-season experiment and then flip the switch again. This is a long-term piece. This is a cultural shift, and this team. You're going to tell me that after 50 years of what we've done with a culture, it doesn't need an absolute reset. This is what we're getting, and
that we don't have the patience to last 3 or 4 years before we blow it up again.
Right? I get it. A lot of you guys are like 25 years old. I get it. Right? Trust me, you can ride a little longer. God Almighty.
Yeah. I know that we're all desperate for the wins. We're desperate for them. But I mean, like you said, I mean, we've all been through a lot of losing, even those of us like me who have seen a little bit more success in my Lions fandom than people who have been watching since they were infants, but we've all seen a lot of losing. But if you can't have the patience to at least find out long term if something can work, then you're just going to keep having the same issue over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And look, how much further than the Browns do you have to look to see that?
It just occurred to me. Everybody and people, you can be the angry fan. You certainly can. You know what I mean? You can be the guy that's they're angry, whatever, and that's fine. That's okay, and I get it. I get why you'd be there, right? That's not where I am. I'm kind of taking it a little bit more, more broad approach. This is obviously not a one. Even if you fired Patricia, I'll see in 3 years, right? I mean, before we see it, there's no immediate turnaround. It's just not going to happen. But there's I don't know, maybe, and this is how I'm going to characterize it, there's the more pragmatic, the more kind of intelligent fan that's like, I get it, the NFL is really hard, it's a parity league, it's really, really close, you get the salary caps going on, there's a lot of different pieces, and injuries is part of the chaos that's introduced that you have no control over, right? Trying to put all those things together and make them work is really, really difficult. Take the pragmatic approach, watch it long term, understand that every team doesn't win a Super Bowl. Will we get a chance? Absolutely we will. Absolutely this team will one day. Will be with Patricia? Maybe not. I don't know. I can't tell you the future. But as a Lions fan, you can be reactive. You can be the throw your controller through the TV set Xbox player kind of fan, or just be pragmatic. Look at the team. Look at what you've signed up for. You signed up with the Lions, man. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, we had the one guy that called in the post-game show that tried to drown himself in the shower instead of the bathtub, right? That's the total Lions fan right there. just missing the point. No, it's okay. It's not okay that the team does this, but you have to understand as a fan what you're getting into, and accept where we are. Hope for the best. Spend your money in the way that you think supports, what you want and what doesn't. But if you understand more kind of pragmatically where we are and can kind of go with it and understand that this is a team that has a lot of change required. When they hired Bob Quinn, when they hired Matt Patricia, and maybe when they hire the next coach, maybe, I don't know. But there's a lot of change and a lot of evolution that has to happen for this team and in its history to kind of get shaken free. It's a tough deal. I told you guys, you've heard me say it a couple times, that Russian 5 movie is a great example of what it took to shake the ghost of 45 years, I think, of no Stanley Cup for the Detroit Red Wings, of going that long and being close and being just heartbroken along the way. If you can do that, man, you can do it in football, and you just understand where you are. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. Don't be that like we talked about earlier in the show. Don't make it politics. Don't hate on people. Don't scream at people. Don't disown family members because they believe in Patricia and you don't. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth your health. It's okay. Breathe deep. We're going to want the best for the team. We can be critical, but we can still all be friends. And that's where it comes down to.
And we can be critical. And I think, this is probably going to be lost on a lot of people who have already shut off who have already turned off the podcast because they think I'm a, hi, sweetie, who think I'm a, who think I am a huge Patricia fanboy. And hang on. Okay. Who think I'm a huge Patricia fanboy. And I've been, I was definitely one of the people who wanted to bring Patricia in. I wanted to bring him in a year before we even got him. So I understand where that comes from, but that doesn't mean that I'm not ready to hear criticism about him. And it doesn't mean that I think he's a good coach yet. And it doesn't mean that I think he doesn't need to get better. And it doesn't mean that I think he is the long-term solution. All it means is that the circumstances under which we've seen so far are not circumstances that have allowed him to show what he can do. And that's what I want to see. I want to see what he can do.
I don't think you can evaluate him appropriately.
Right. And that's all. That's my argument, is that I just don't think you can sit there and look at the things that have happened with this team. The amount of roster turnover we had to make, the amount of shifts and changes and learning that had to happen and still is happening, and then throw in all the injuries on top of all that, and the weird ways we've lost games on top of that. And I think that judging him based on their current record is not a good idea, is basically what I'm saying.
And you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. How does he recover? Will the Lions be next year's version of this year's San Fran? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see.
And if he can't get this to work, if they give him 3 full years and he can't get this to work, then I truly understand moving on at that point. Mm-hmm. It's not that I'm set in this Patricia or nothing ever. That's not the mindset. It's just a mindset of let's give him enough time and enough opportunity when the opportunity is available, because the opportunity isn't available right now with so many injuries to do anything with them.
So my thinking is, and hear me out. And in the NFL, normally I'm like a 3 years and done kind of guy with a coach. With where the CBA falls, the changes that are happening there, with the things that have happened up to now, with the fact that he's a rookie coach, I'm willing to go 4 years on him right now. Just with all those things coming together. As long as if we go 0 for next year, it's like you got no shot, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, we did everything we could to help you out. If you go 0 for because Stafford goes down again, and lightning hits the field and 33 players are carted off on week 1, okay, well then maybe that's different, right? I can see through that. Obviously an act of God, although you're not very lucky, so we might want to think about it. But this CBA really rolls the dice on this thing and puts us in a position where you flip to a coach and the rules change. I would rather wait and see what comes out of the CBA and then build for that than build ahead of the CBA and then have the rules changed on us. When we ate those Sue and Johnson and Stafford rookie contracts after the last CBA, it made me extremely wary about getting too built up around on the players you got, and it makes me extremely wary about going after big free agent guys yet. You know what I mean? I just want to see what we get out of the CBA. I think if we see good, solid improvement, good, solid growth, and build a really strong base for this team, we can weather the CBA and we can become a team that comes ahead. If we don't see that kind of growth, maybe after the CBA, maybe that's when we find a coach who we think is going to lead us to victory in that piece. But just establish something with this team first before you can, because if you don't have a foundation, you can't change and build off of it.
And I have a very hard time seeing Bob Quinn being the kind of GM who would go out and sign those, massive deals for, free agent mercenary players anyway.
I would argue that that's what he's setting up for. And the unexpected happened this year with the injuries, but that's kind of, we talk about it in the Slack, right? Having dudes, right? Having those kind of guys, those difference maker players like a Calvin, right? We don't have a lot of those guys on the team. We have a lot of really, really good players, but we don't have those absolute difference makers. And I think that's what Bob's been building, is a team of good, solid players with depth. And then once we get there and they can start performing, then bringing in a couple of real superstars that kind of push us over the top. And that's why the cap is set up the way it is.
I'm not sure we're going to be there next year, but
no, this year was a really tough year. It's another argument in my mind for that 4-year thing, because the injury issues we've hit this year, again, makes it almost impossible to evaluate your coach, right? The fact that we've even been in these games with second and third tier players, with second and third string players playing as starters throughout these games, actually is probably a compliment, right? It complements his ability as a coach to at least keep us close with these guys that are not starting tier players in the NFL.
Well, and in literally every single game we've played, except for maybe the Vikings game, we had a real good opportunity to win and missed it. And that sucks. It sucks to miss those crucial things. But it's also so much of that is luck based.
Yep.
And there's a bingo card notch for you guys. That we truly, so many of us downplay the importance of luck. And that includes injuries, includes the bounce of a ball. It includes what happened on the special teams play where the guy muffed the catch and then, that threw everything off. Right. If he had actually caught it normally, that play probably would have ended, and then they don't score the touchdown there. They probably win that game. You know what I mean? We had the bad luck with the refs against the Packers. We had bad luck against the Chiefs. We had bad luck against the Raiders. Every single game. so much luck happened. And I'm not saying that if we had if we had good luck, we would have won all those games. Things could still not have gone our way, but it has been a string of bad luck. And it's not like we're unaccustomed to that as Lions fans. You know, we've had a lot of bad luck. Some years it's more pronounced than others. I don't think that last year was a bad luck year. Not everything went our way by any means, but I don't necessarily think it was a bad luck year. You've talked about with the field goals, the uprights being our, teammate last year. Things, we went 6-10 despite, we actually had some good luck thrown in with the bad luck. This year, we just haven't had any good luck thrown our way.
Yeah.
And you need that. You need that in the NFL. Even those top teams, even the best teams in the league, have the records they have because they've gotten lucky on occasion.
Along the way, they get lucky.
I mean, if you're going to blow a team out like the Ravens did against the Rams, you don't need good luck. But that's not happening every week.
Right. All right. Let's push on. That was a good discussion, Case. Thanks for bringing that. I got passionate in there along the way.
I had to get all that off my chest. It's been sitting there for a few weeks. So
I will. I have to say really quick. It's the holiday season, and boy, do my balls need squeezing. No, you're starting to look at those gifts for everybody. Thanks for being a willing participant there, Case, on the YouTube. What do you do in the holiday season? Well, you got to go get gifts. You got to get family gifts. You got to get friends gifts. You got people you really don't even like gifts. That's the thing that's the hardest. It's like, God, what am I doing here? But it's always time to get gifts. And what do you do when you do gifts? You don't want to go outside for those people that you don't really care about that you have to buy something for. You don't want to deal the pressing flesh and the bad breath and ill-mannered people of society, such as Case and I. No. You go to Amazon.com. How do you do that? Go to Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Use that link. It'll go right on through. You don't even see it. You're just like, phew, that fast. How fast? Phew, just that fast. Shoots you right in there. You don't even know you stopped by. It sets a little cookie, though. Tells Amazon, says, hey, it's Chris and Case that sent you over there. And because we sent you over there, we take a little money out of Bezos' pocket, and we know how evil he is, and we put it into the pocket of the Detroit Lions podcast. Everything you buy, we get a little kickback, and it helps us do this show.
You're an advertising company and calling the owner evil in the same breath.
Shh, they listen. They got to see a contract too. So anyway, yeah, it's great. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. All your gift needs are available there. Head on over, and it's a great way to help the show by doing something you were going to do anyway, and this is that time of year to do it. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. All right, let's talk about something that we kind of predicted ahead of the season, around the draft time, at the end of last season, probably every time since our pick from the 2009 season. Then that is, hey, if Matthew Stafford goes down, we're going to lose out. The season doesn't even matter.
It was like I said, before the season, my 8-8 prediction, and the one caveat was that's if Matthew Stafford doesn't miss significant time. That was the one caveat.
So help me, Case, because Matthew Stafford goes out, and everybody agreed. It was like 100. It was the gestalt of the Lions fandom that if Matthew Stafford get injured, this team has no chance. We need Matthew Stafford. He is the linchpin. Yet he's gone. And it's like, like, what the heck? Right? I mean, we knew this was going to happen. It hurts. It's horrible. It's terrible. Matthew Stafford is injured. Matthew Stafford isn't leading this team. Jeff Driscoll, okay, who has been a competent backup. He's a guy that I think is, as in a backup role, he's not quite, Eagles Super Bowl caliber, but he's not absolutely horrific. He gives you something a little different, gives you a chance, obviously, in the games. And we haven't been able to pull it off, but this is what we expected. Why do we act like it's not? Case, is it on you?
Well, I think the better question is, do we want Stafford to come back? And I know you guys talked about it. I didn't.
Ever?
This year.
Okay.
Do we want him to come back this year? And I understand 100% the arguments of people saying no because they want him healthy, but if it's not going to be a high likelihood of re-injury or aggravating the injury that causes long-term, I would like to see him come back this year. And the reason that I would like to see him come back this year is because 2010 was a important season for me, because we'd seen the 0-16, we'd seen 2-14, and the 2010 season was not a good one. But and this isn't actually about Stafford, this is about Sean Hill, but the logic still applies. What happened at the end of the 2016 season was a string of wins. I think it was 4 in a row. I want to say, to finish off the season, and that momentum, that energy, that like everybody in the locker room suddenly remembered or learned for the first time, what it was like to win and how exciting that is. And if we could go into the off season with that does provide, and I know that the concept of momentum is a debated one, and I generally would agree that momentum is not as much of a thing as people think it is. But if you've got a positive attitude for the team, I do think that's important. And if we could rattle off 2 or 3 wins even at the end of the season, that would be a positive way to go into the off season. And I think, that happened for us last year, blowout of the Packers in week 17. And obviously it did translate to a lot of positive things in the offseason. Those things fell apart as the players fell apart. But, but nonetheless, if I think it's better to enter an offseason in that mindset with the players, thinking, okay, now we've seen, we can do some things, than it is for the entire team to just be like, well, let's play another year.
Yeah. Is it too early to talk about a draft party? Got a big draft party coming, folks. Good time. And don't forget our preseason party. We'll be doing that too. Yeah. That's, I agree. I think that
no, like I said,
I'm not gonna challenge on any of that.
Yeah, I don't want Stafford's injury to be re-aggravated or anything. So no. Like if it's clear that is a high probability, then no thanks.
He has been changed from out to doubtful for the Thanksgiving game.
Right.
Don't expect to see him.
So no, but
I'm as much as I hate to see it, because there's so few football games and the off season is so damn long. It's so hard to go through that. And then it's going to be its own set of stupid talking points and narratives in the off season, right? I guarantee at some point someone's going to ask, and it's going to be like people are going to act like it's a real discussion. Is Stafford strong enough to be able to withstand the rigors of an NFL season anymore? I just the stupidity that's going to come out of this. But I don't mind sitting him the rest of the year and getting him completely.
Well, yes. If I have to make a choice between those two things, that's the obvious choice. I'm just like, if there's no reason to believe that, if they're only sitting him just because they don't want to risk anything else happening to him, but there's no reason that this injury is likely to be likely to be re-aggravated. I would rather see them play him.
It's a lot of money to sit on the bench, though. God, it's so much money to sit on the bench.
Isn't it our luck as Lions fans that Stafford is having the best season of his career, and then this happens? Isn't that truly like? Is there anything that exemplifies the misfortunes that we've been through than that? I'm not sure that there really is.
Yeah, it is. It is so Lions. It's unfortunate, but again, if you've been a fan for a while, you understand. That being so Lions is so Lions, right? I mean, that's just part of being a fan. And again, the dead wings and all the things. Just please, especially for Detroit people, keep this in your mind. You know this. And if you want to see Case's sweet little lovable fur ball, it's on the YouTube now. Keep that in mind, though. We've been through difficulty as Detroiters. I mean, let's face it, the economy in Detroit, the things that folks have been through there is something that it's a mindset. Again, I use the word gestalt. It's a way of thinking that I have not seen anywhere else in the country. I've been a lot of different places. I've been around the world, for work, lived in a lot of different places. Detroit is a very, very, very special place because people appreciate folks who work hard. Everywhere else I go, people appreciate folks who could get away with not working. It's such a shit. It's so frustrating as somebody from Detroit. People appreciate those who work hard. And if you don't quite have it today, people appreciate you when you work hard and strive and find that next thing and get it. And that's something that's not in a lot of places the way it is in Detroit. I was just back there I had a quick weekend jaunt down there saw my mom a little bit, saw the Sandman and the what's it called? The suite, which was awesome. Thank you again, Sandman. You are the Superman superstar. But just getting back into Detroit and hanging with the people, every time I do that, I just feel invigorated. It's something we do, and that work it's a mindset, and nothing seems to come easy for Detroit. Not just the Lions, not the Wings, the city. And there's something special though that comes out of that, and there's a mindset and a type of people, like I said, you won't find them anywhere else. And frankly, I feel like it's worth it because these are some of the best people in the world that I've ever met, and people I don't even know, right? And have nothing to do with anything else that I do. Just show up and start having conversations about really, really cool things. It's just part of who we are and what makes us, Detroit. So don't give up, guys. It's okay. We've done this before. It just sucks. It's who we are. All right, let's talk about what the rest of the year has for us, Case. This is a team that we started talking about a little bit with Stafford, but I want to... God. When you talk about things, you always look at good leaders and inspirational people. That's why I kind of continue to go to the Patriots and kind of use it. It's not this Patriot way thing or any of that. I recognize that they're trying to do something a little bit different, but based out of the school they learned at, right? But this is just a really, really good example. In the original episode of Do Your Job, which is available on YouTube, of course, Bill Belichick talks about a loss. It was like 44-10 or something against Kansas City early in the year. And the team was just getting crushed from the beginning. But he talked about it and he said, we didn't have a chance to win. This was a game that we didn't have any, we had no hope in. But the team never gave up. The team went out there and they played and they had heart and they believed in what we were doing. And we had something there. I could sense we had something there, so we could work with that. And they turned that massive loss into an incredible Super Bowl season. I think that was the one with the catch against the Seahawks and the interception in the end zone by Malcolm Butler, right? That won the game at the last second. And it came out to Do Your Job. It was the whole concept of Do Your Job, which is a very Detroit thing, by the way. But what he talked about there, I think, is what's really, really important. I think that's what's coming out of the rest of the season and what we're looking for from this Lions team for the rest of this year. And that's that character. It's that not giving up. It's that not turning on each other. And look, I'm not going to call any defensive corners out, but how do you react to this adversity, and can you put yourself in a position to support and work with it or not? And I think that's what the test is this year. This is now a series, I believe, of preseason games, testing talent, testing plays, testing formations, testing things under live fire exercises for next year. That's what I think this season really, really is all about. And more than, all those things being said, it's a test of character. So as much as I say I'd like to see Stafford sit, I bet he's out there at the end of the season. I bet he's out there playing because he is that kind of a character guy. And I think you're going to see, based on what these players do, both in the media and on the field and everywhere else, the rest of the season is going to determine the makeup of the people that are on the team this year, whether they're there, whether they're not in the 2020 season.
I also think, added motivation for Stafford to come back this year is that we still have 3 division games, and that he likes playing those division games. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's likely that we beat the Vikings or Packers in December, but how gratifying would it be to play spoiler, keep one of them out of the playoffs?
Look where the Packers are right now. They're definitely not getting, I don't want to say definitely not, right? But it certainly doesn't look like they're getting the home field advantage or the bye week in the playoffs, which is just another opportunity to see them.
That would make the football season for me, is to to eliminate them from playoff contention
or a first round exit. Mm-hmm. I would just relish that first round exit from the Packers. It would make me very, very, very happy. Just a little Joker smile. Blood, right? If you haven't seen that movie, I recommend it. It's highly. It's awesome. All right, let's talk about really quick. Okay, Fanatics. You got all your other gifts. You want to get your Lions fan, your special Lions fan, something special. Or maybe they're a Michigan fan, or maybe they're an Ohio Bobcats fan, or like Case, a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. You never know. Head them over. Go on over to fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Same kind of deal as the Amazon one. Sets you up with the site without even blinking. You don't even know anything happened except there was a little cookie that happened in the background that said, it's Chris and Case. Oh my God, those guys are great. We make so much money. We're going to take a little bit of the profit that we make here. We're going to give it to Chris and Case because you bought something cool because they sent you here. So fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. When you buy your Lions gear, your Michigan gear, your anything gear, Pistons, Tigers, hockey time, Red Wings stuff, fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com, and hook yourself up and hook us up on the way. Thank you for supporting us by doing that. All right, big news. This is breaking news. I think this is actually really what got us kind of into this situation with the team this year of we don't feel like the playoffs are going to happen, and it's specifically because of this one move. The XFL has blocked the Lions from getting Josh Johnson. Devastating to the team. Case, please help us elaborate on why this has broken the back of Lions fans.
First of all, I wouldn't have actually known that they could do that. You would have thought that as far as the XFL being semi-considered a developmental league.
Right. Or semi-competent considered.
Right. But, I mean, Josh Johnson hasn't done anything meaningful in his entire NFL career. So this isn't, he wasn't, I'm not even sure he's better than Jeff Driscoll. In fact, I would rather play Jeff Driscoll being the young guy and seeing, letting him play out the rest of the season, assuming Matt doesn't come back, and seeing what we have in him to see if he's a long-term option at backup, because, this is his first meaningful time in the NFL. If they can develop him over the rest of this season into a long-term. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was interrupting. I apologize. The only significant thing we've seen from Jeff Driscoll has been with the Lions, though. So don't count out Josh Johnson as a possible superstar. Maybe we could have a quarterback.
I mean, he's 33.
Yeah. Well, he's right there. Just Stafford. They could be like collegial conversations of like, oh, yeah, that was my favorite song in high school, too, right? I mean,
Fair enough.
All right, let's do a quick look ahead to the Bears. Thanksgiving game. This is tough. I mean, the Lions, even Seth MacFarlane, the Family Guy, made a joke about the Lions losing on Thanksgiving, right? I mean, it's a good one, but it hurts. The Bears. Defense over there is okay. Offense over there is laughable. What do we got? Can we do it? Can this defense stop Mitchell Trubisky from marching down the field with the soldiers of stupidity and come away with a sneak win on Thanksgiving, making everybody's turkey taste better?
I'm not planning to put a whole bunch of money on the Lions winning, but I mean, I would put money on the point spread being within a possession. I think that's the smart money. So
if you're running trends, it's always within a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So Josh Johnson, look ahead to the Bears. It's going to be an interesting game. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your time. Don't let them wreck your day, guys, gals, folks. Do not let this game wreck your Thanksgiving. You've got politics to talk about with a family. Let that wreck your Thanksgiving so that you can walk away and say, damn it, I wish there was some good football on in the morning. We're not going to do a post-game show on Turkey Day. Again, I want to just kind of let everyone know as a kind of a show note there. Because I'm going to hang out with my family and get yelled at about politics, even though I don't talk about them. And then we will try to put up some video on the YouTube. We'll try to sneak some in, maybe some vlogs or some other stuff between now and the next weekly show next week. And then with that, we wish you all a great holiday. And we love you, even though the Lions don't show it. You want to say anything else, Case?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, remember, the show needs your involvement. Use the comments and stuff. Give us your feedback. We love that. We appreciate that. And don't forget about us on Patreon. We love and appreciate that even more. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. On the gram at Detroit Lions Podcast. And, of course, on the Twitter machine at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast, the very best place to see Case.
Being the human embodiment of Xanax.
Wow. Mouthful of Case. Whoever thought. You can call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. Or call us on the Lions line, 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. Leave us a message. We'll get you on the show. Also, be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast so we can come inside your desired device automatically. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, we'll see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Of course, no pants, no toaster. Maybe I got a toaster or two. No hot tubs, no problems because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.